Well, the transfer portal, I don't like it because it's just getting too quiet for me as an Oklahoma fan, and not knowing who the staff is really out there pursuing, not really knowing who's coming in and visiting till the last second. It's killing me here. But today I want to go ahead and review some options that I think Oklahoma needs to be aggressive in after the transfer portal. We're kind of going to talk about these positions of need, and we're just going to deep dive into it and break it down. But before we get into it, please go ahead. Let me know what you guys are thinking down in the comments below. Is there anybody that I missed or anybody that you think I should go in there and add? And I know you guys are wanting to know a lot about these Clemson guys, so stay tuned a little bit towards the end and we'll talk about some of them. Okay, so the transfer portal, it giveth and it taketh, and right now we've been giveth a little bit. We've also had a little bit taketh. There's a lot of OU guys that are in the transfer portal, and I was talking to, if you guys have watched the channel for a long time, you guys know Jay from Unfair Sports, and him and I were talking about it in the green room earlier. We were going to record something, and he wasn't able to do it because of some internet issues, but we were talking about just the guys from Oklahoma that have entered the portal, like Joshua Eaton and Clayton Smith and some of those guys, and how they haven't been picked up yet, and how there is a chance you could see, just like Joseph Huete, where they withdraw their name from the portal and end up staying in Oklahoma, which would be interesting because, Justin Harrington did that, and then Brent Venables basically took his scholarship offer and he's going to make him have to re-earn it. And so I kind of wonder if something similar is going to happen with these players, where basically he ends up giving that scholarship to somebody else that is bought in with the program and hasn't necessarily dipped out and left because, hey, we were 6-7 and, everything else was falling apart. So that's going to be pretty interesting to watch, to see if any players that entered their name in the portal end up coming back and withdrawing. But there are some names in the portal that I think Oklahoma Sooner fans potentially need to be watching because, again, with this staff and with how quiet the transfer portal news has been, it's something that we definitely need to keep our eye on. And a player that I like right off the bat is a former 4-star cornerback out of St. Louis, Missouri, currently, I guess was at Ohio State, now in the transfer portal, J.K. Johnson. And I actually talked about this in a Colorado video and how Colorado needs to be targeting this kid because Colorado needs players like this. But in 2022, he only had 1 tackle. And this is an extremely talented kid that, for a lot of teams in the country, if he was to hit the field, he could start right away. And so with C.J. Colden recently just now entering his name into the transfer portal, this would be, I think, a great option for the Sooners to go and potentially pick up J.K. Johnson to fill that potential hole with C.J. Colden leaving. But there's also a lot of different cornerbacks in the transfer portal, so I don't know if you have to necessarily go out there and get that guy because, again, with the staff, I think something that we're learning is they're kind of taking people that necessarily fit this culture, right? So they're being a little bit more selective. But there's a lot of options out there that I like the LaRondo Johnson, the 4-star cornerback from Baylor that currently hit the transfer portal on the 2nd. You've also got Trent Gordon, who was from Arkansas. He was a 3-star cornerback in the portal. But, if you go up and down, you got guys from Florida. You've got guys from, you've got Demore Tate, the 4-star, almost 5-star cornerback from Florida State. This is the guy who, if OU was to throw him an offer, which I'm assuming they're probably kicking the tires on a lot of these higher-end transfer portal guys, this guy could be an early NFL draft pick under the right development. And, hey, would not be upset if I saw him come to Oklahoma. But another position of, I guess not another position, a position of need for Oklahoma is the defensive line, right? Especially the interior part. I think on the edge, I think we're pretty good there. But on the interior, I think you go after a guy like Anthony Lucas, right? And Parker and Brandon, they've talked about it. You'll probably see the staff kick the tires on Anthony Lucas to see where his loyalties lie, if he's willing to come to Oklahoma. I think the big thing here is we weren't originally in his top list of schools when he was looking at committing, ultimately going to Texas A&M, but you were having to recruit against Bama, Miami, Notre Dame, Oregon, LSU, all those teams. And so as great as he is, which, hey, he's good. 300-pound, great off the line of scrimmage. When you look at it, he's got great footwork. He's got great hands. I think this would be a great guy to add, and potentially, again, maybe if he doesn't start on the defensive line next year, he could provide a lot of depth. So that's a name to keep an eye on. Obviously, I've talked about it before in another video, but Devon Sears, he is on campus today for a visit this week. The 6'2", 300-pound defensive lineman from Texas State. Total 15 total tackles. 8 of those were solo. 1 of them was a sack. The big thing is here, guys, and I know a lot of you guys might go, oh, well, they didn't have a lot of production or their stats weren't that great. Well, sometimes there's a lot of things that these defensive linemen do, like with pressures on the quarterback and things that you necessarily don't see on the stat sheet. So keep that in mind, right? If the staff's going after somebody, they're going after that person for a reason, especially since they've been here this entire recruiting cycle. They're kind of getting a full opportunity to go after whoever they want. So let's pump the brakes on, oh, well, this person doesn't have the stats, right? Or maybe that person just didn't get a good opportunity at the place they're at because maybe that place is deep in their talent. So another recruit that we know is going to be on campus this week is the Stanford offensive line Walter Rusey. So this is pretty interesting because the offensive line is definitely a need for the Sooners, especially with Antoine Harrison and Wanye Morris leaving the team. And then you also have, was it Jacob Sexton that got hurt in that game? It was either Jacob Sexton or the other guy that got hurt, or Jake Taylor that got hurt in that bowl game. So you definitely want to be able to get some more room at the offensive line position. So you're hearing, Walter Rusey's name be thrown out. You're hearing of Ethan White, who was a Florida transfer. You're hearing of the Sooners being in a really good spot for him. And then there's also the offensive lineman from UCF, and I'm totally blanking on his name right now. So those are all potential options that, we definitely need to be watching. And then ultimately, I think another offensive lineman that I'm surprised we haven't heard a whole lot about, it's Keontae Goodwin, the 5-star offensive tackle out of Kentucky. So 6'8", 340 pounds. I mean, this dude's massive, but he's extremely physical. He plays with a lot of intensity. He finished his blocks to an end. Great feet, great hands. He's always shown a willingness to go in there and work on his body. And again, just an extremely massive human being. Not going to be a lot of guys, I think, where the defensive linemen are going to get past him a lot. And he's actually had a lot of comparisons to Orlando Brown, which was a Bill Beatonbow guy, right? So I think that would be an interesting one to see if Oklahoma potentially could get in there on that. That's something that we're potentially going to have to watch and wait and see. I'm curious to see how Bill Beatonbow is going to go in here and recruit the transfer portal, with especially as good of a developer that he is on the offensive line. So some guys that are not in the portal that I think we should all be keeping our eyes on, and this is at no shock to, I think, you guys. His name's been floated around there a lot, and that's going to be Corey Foreman, the former 5-star edge rusher out of USC. And for those of you who don't really pay attention a whole lot to the recruiting game, Corey Foreman, he was the second best recruit of all time for USC, and he was the number 2 player in that 2021 class. So Corey Foreman, this would be a great option. And when you go look at his stats, 2022, 13 total tackles, 9 solos. In 2021, he had 11 total tackles with 7 solos and 2.5 sacks. This year, he had 1 interception. Yeah, it's not that he has the best statistics in the world that just knock you off your feet. But with Corey Foreman, you really think he just needs a change of scenery, right? You really think he just needs a new set of minds to be able to go in there and help him develop. And with the talent that Corey Foreman's got, imagine having a PJ Adebawore and a Corey Foreman back there. Your edge room's looking pretty good. And remember, the Sooners lost out on Tahu Siliakana, which not sure if they were going to try to play him at the edge or if they were going to put him at the linebacker position. But it's definitely something that we would want to be able to keep our eyes on. If Corey Foreman definitely hits the portal, in his recruitment, he had a strong relationship with Todd Bates, and he had, I think, some looks at Oklahoma before. So Todd Bates and Brent Venables, they were looking at him. It's definitely something that you want to watch, keep your eye out for. And then last but not least, let's talk about these Clemson guys, because I get it. A lot of you guys thought that we would get more Clemson guys than what we got. And I did too. And I'm kind of sad that we didn't get maybe Swint or Sergio Allen. Wasn't as sold on Fred Davis. And maybe if the staff really wanted Fred Davis, they could have got him. But I think there are some names that you guys need to watch. And obviously, Brian Breesy, he has declared for the draft. So, that is somebody that I was potentially hinting at that OU could maybe go out there and grab if he hit the portal and decided that he needed to change his scenery, because that had been talked and floated around a little bit. But that one's kind of out now. I like looking at, first off, we're going to stop at this one. I'm going to go, hold on, we're going to save this one for last, guys. Let's start with DeMonte Capehart. So DeMonte Capehart, defensive tackle, he's sophomore. He was part of that 2020 class. And this year, he's only seen the field a couple times, had 12 total tackles, 6 solos. And then in 2020, he had 3 total tackles, 2 solos, and then 1 sack. But DeMonte Capehart was a guy that out of high school, a really highly recruited guy across the campaign for a lot of schools. And so I really like what DeMonte Capehart could potentially bring to the Sooners. Now, again, I don't know if he is necessarily looking at hitting the portal, the former 4-star guy out of IMG Academy. But if he does hit the portal, I would expect that this is a guy that Todd Bates and Brent Venables are going to want to go out there and grab ASAP. And then, obviously, I think a lot of people are expecting Venables' son to end up here. He plays safety out there. So we'll see if that ends up happening. Somebody that I'm actually really interested in to see if he hits the portal, and if he does hit the portal, will he end up at Oklahoma? And this is going to be the nugget for you guys. And I'm not just throwing this out here for, blanks and giggles. It's going to be Barrett Carter. So this year he had 73 total tackles. 41 of those were his. 5.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and 2 interceptions. Barrett Carter is a monster. And for those of you who, again, you don't follow the recruiting trail a whole lot, Barrett Carter was a guy, a part of that 2021 class that was, I think, a staple. He was ranked 33 nationally, 5-star guy. He has a comparison to Jerome Baker, who currently plays for the Miami Dolphins. Again, being the 5-star, they projected that he would be, a first-round pick. But he has great defensive production all throughout high school, and then obviously the year that he starts at Clemson. When you go look at 2021, where he only got to play a few times, 16 total tackles, 7 solos, this would be a big loss for Clemson, but it would be a big gain for Oklahoma. And that's because I think the linebacker room, it needs more depth, and it needs more guys that understand Brent Venables' system. And I think Barrett Carter, he brings in the talent that you need. So it provides tremendous depth. And obviously, this is a guy that would probably start if he showed up here at Oklahoma. But also with Barrett Carter, this is a guy that understands the 3-3-5 system, which I know you guys didn't like it this year, but you got to understand we have to run it. We have to get these guys experienced in that system for us to be successful for it in the future. We can't wait till just when we have the personnel. Now, there were situational times where maybe we should not have ran the 3-3-5, but that's a whole conversation for another day. Barrett Carter understands the system. He understands what BV and Ted Roof and these guys want to do, and that's kind of why I'd be like, if he hits the portal, you have to go all in on Barrett Carter if you're Oklahoma and the staff. So go ahead. Let me know what you guys are thinking down in the comments below. Let me know if you guys want to go out there and grab if you're the Oklahoma Sooners and the staff. Is there anybody that I missed that you guys potentially want the Sooners to go out there and take?